Awesome. Well, this is so exciting. We're here live at MedTech Conference, not in Mars, but Toronto. Mars next, and we got Don here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So glad you're here, Don.
Okay, so I feel very much at home in Toronto because we founded the company Analytics for Life here in Toronto about maybe even 12 years ago. So all of our research and development is based in Toronto, and I was just really excited last year's meeting when I learned that Toronto was this year's MedTech home. So it's been a great week for me. I have been involved with Analytics for Life, the parent company, but Corvista is our U.S. subsidiary where we're doing business in the U.S. and providing services through Corvista. So I have been the CEO for now going on 9 years, president, CEO, developed a system for testing cardiovascular disease that allows us in a point of care fashion to be able to test in a doctor's office quickly and with accuracy to determine who does or who may or may not present with serious cardiovascular disease like coronary artery disease, pulmonary hypertension are two that we have FDA approvals for detecting.
So we're here at the MedTech Conference, a lot of innovation here, a lot of amazing med device companies. What would you say to the audience out there really sets your organization apart in innovation?
You know, we have used machine learning to develop some of the algorithms in the product, and you hear a lot about that excitement. But quite frankly, what I see as the most innovation is that we are able to project our algorithms or our diagnostic capabilities to where the patient is in the doctor's office, that point of care. That innovation really comes from cloud services.
Yeah.
I always like to joke that when we started the company, Amazon's business was selling Kindle books, and look at where cloud services have gone in 12 years. So that sort of innovation with being able to provide a service, cloud services, software as a medical device, digital health, we are kind of, all that is interchanged into our products.
Yeah, and patient care and improving outcomes is a really big topic that I'm excited about. And the fact that you're in the doctor's office, tell us more about that. That's really impressive.
So, most people who are starting to feel bad or have complaints like shortness of breath when I walk to the mailbox, or chest pain that comes and goes, they generally will come to their local physician in their local town that they've been seeing for years, and they bring up these bothering symptoms and ask that doctor to try to do something about it.
Yeah.
And these doctors don't have sophisticated tests, or not every office has sophisticated state-of-the-art testing. And if the physician is suspicious about disease, they really have to send the patient somewhere else on another day, generally to a city that's not where they are. And sometimes getting those appointments can be weeks, if not months out. So having a service that you can provide in the patient's hometown or in the patient's home office, where you can do the early testing that can very quickly rule out the disease or identify someone who is highly suspected of disease, is much more efficient for the patient. Gets them to care quickly and unclogs the medical system with the negative patients.
So if I'm hearing it right, it's really the right place, the right care at the right place. And then the other thing is, so often the punt in the previous experiences, doctors would always err on go to the ER. I mean, how many ER visits the fact is that you're getting that signal, and then the unnecessary, if it's not necessary, the referral specialist that could just be for, backlog.
So what is the patient experience like? What is the diagnostic? Can you describe a bit about that? The patient experience or the provider experience?
Yeah, so we have a digital health device that takes physiologic signals from the patient for about a 3-minute recording. And it's a high fidelity, highly proprietary piece of equipment that we have developed for the purpose of providing this cardiology service. So the fact is, we're not selling the equipment. We're providing the service to the doctor
Yeah.
who is providing service to their patient to, and in that, we'll do a diagnostic test with Corvista. And this means a medical technician will prep the patient, putting electrodes that collect electrical field from the patient's chest and another sensor that measures the blood flow at the periphery. And for 3 minutes, we record those signals. So nothing is injected in the body. We're only interpreting what the signals the body creates. 3 minutes, we record it. It's automatically packed into a data package, pushed to the cloud, where we securely store this patient data. And in that cloud repository, which we manage through cloud services, which is the real innovation, then we apply our FDA validated algorithm, which was a long process. I think we'll talk about that later. But ultimately, we tested 11,000 patients in clinical trials to develop the algorithm. Additionally, 2,000 patients that are separate to test the algorithm. And now we have a validated algorithm that when the data goes to cloud, we run it through the algorithm. It creates a physician diagnostic report, and automatically that is pushed back to the doctor's office. So in 15 minutes, the patient gets a test, they get an answer, and the doctor can guide their therapy, and we are an aid in diagnosis.
So could you talk a little bit about this whole idea of med tech as a service? Because you were saying to me before, you've had a pretty interesting career, all in med tech, starting at Medtronic, very much pre-cloud, probably, sort of dawn of PCs or early PC days. So what is sort of the concept of med tech as a service as opposed to selling widgets, or what's different and what enables that?
Yeah.
What's the opportunities?
It is a business that has existed for some time, and I worked for decades in the major medical device companies, cardiac device companies, selling devices that help patients. And at one point, after the third or fourth acquisition, the consolidation of business, I left and started another company with an implantable device that ultimately sold to Medtronic 6 years later. And when I left that endeavor and I was thinking, well, what am I going to do next? It is the concept of providing medical services as opposed to single-use devices that was intriguing me. Even in 2014 and 15, there were trends that hospitals didn't want to make capital equipment if they could find a service provider that could help them, leasing or renting or such. And in the arrhythmia monitoring field, like iRhythm and Preventus and every one of the, there's like dozens of arrhythmia monitoring type companies that use this cardiology as a service. There are many services. Sleep clinics are services. Many of them are services. And so I envisioned that I would want to be working in a service delivery as opposed to making a device and selling a device. And ultimately, as I was introduced into Corvista with this concept of being able to help physicians detect serious cardiovascular disease, we really came very quickly to how can we do this and project it where the patient wants it, which is in their local office. Then how then can we provide the distribution? And you talk about AI and machine learning algorithms. It's almost like kitchen sink names these days. But the challenge is, how do you get paid for an algorithm? You bundle it into the digital health package with cloud service connectivity and validated machine learned algorithm as a package. You then provide that as a service as opposed to selling it. And we take the service, and our vision of the company, even though we have all this high-tech equipment, it really is, how do we make things easier for the patient, for the physicians, for the medical technicians, for the billing agents? It's a whole variety of things that we do to project and make it easy for the patient to get access to this.
Make the patients better and make the docs better, make healthcare better.
And another benefit of all of this is we are able to, because the equipment is really small, it's not overly expensive, it's unique, that we can, and that all you need to do the test is either a Wi-Fi signal or a cellular signal. We can project this out to the underserved areas, the rural areas that's more than 40 or 50 miles from the big city. The underserved areas, even in big cities where they don't have sophisticated testing. You can.
So I've been to a cardiologist. They wheel this big cart in and put on a bunch of leads, but that's not a small piece of equipment, physically or I'm guessing capital-wise.
Yeah, what we have is essentially an iPad-sized digital health equipment. It can be handheld to move around, but it needs to be stationary on a table when you actually apply the capture of the signals. But it's an incredibly precise device, meaning the signals are just incredibly precision of the signals we receive, and we receive them at a high rate. We do it for 3 minutes, so you get a lot of the dynamic systems of the body. All of that is captured and pushed to the cloud, and that's where the efficiency for point of care, delivery to the underserved, and really the rural community, which I don't know if you have seen this in print, but an article came out. It was reprinted in USA Today and Newsweek that 50% of the counties in the United States don't have a cardiologist. So those patients actually have to travel for counties and counties, sometimes 100 miles in the west to get to Cheyenne, so you actually can see a cardiologist. And this is a solution.
So
for that.
what the actual person or staff, what level do you need to be able to do this?
So this is, as I say, a very precise, high technology device. And we did the really hard thing, was make it easy to use.
Okay.
So it's a medical technician, not a nurse.
Okay.
Just a MA, is what medical assistant, who applies the test, conducts the test, gets the report to deliver to the doctor. The doctor interprets the test along with everything they know about the patient to determine, their care pathway, whether it's you're negative, we know you don't have disease, or you might be positive, so now we need to get you to the right doctor with some degree of urgency. 2 months from now might not work for some patients, and they get to make that decision. So that's where we use this, commonly we call it MedTech 3.0 because it's the marriage of digital health, machine learned algorithm, but most importantly, that connectivity that allows you to project it.
You've really kind of got the full technology stack of new innovation. So you said 12 years, the company?
12 years, 2012, I think, is when the company was founded.
So, and to your point, like that was the era of Kindle books, not Amazon Web Services.
That's correct.
So talk about that, how the larger healthcare world has evolved as you've developed this, because presumably there's been changes among regulators, people who are paying the bill, providers, patients. Like, where is this 12 years ago? Is this where we're going to end up in 2024, or what's happened?
Well, we do, it's good to be lucky sometimes. So this whole issue with COVID and home testing, telehealth was great in 15, 16, 17, but it wasn't like widely adopted. And then COVID came, and now it is just the norm. Whatever you can do with telehealth and remote is that just changed the industry, in my opinion, more than anything that we could have imagined. But in 2015 and 16, when we were developing the device to collect the signals, the idea that we would push them to our server, because in those days there were just bands of servers that you'd have to air condition to keep your data cool. But that level of transition in technology has evolved more than anything. The cloud became the cloud really in in the 2015 to 2020 timeframe, and now you can't hardly walk a step without being connected to the cloud.
Right. So, I mean, you say luck, but it's also you sort of saw a solution that sort of more and more wind kept coming up behind you to lift you up from it over 12 years.
And the idea that we wanted to do it as a service
Mhm.
at point of care. We didn't want these big machines. We couldn't put a server in every doctor's office, but by able to connect and allow us to push this data efficiently to the cloud, store it safely, because that's probably our most critical requirements, is that we deal with personal health information. We have to manage that with the utmost of care, and that's a big part of the processes that we have at Corvista.
Well, I feel like if you picked up on something so early in terms of cloud connectivity, new sensors, miniaturized computers, AI, ML, service-based offerings, any stocks you would recommend if I'm got a 12-year horizon here? I feel like you're the person to ask.
I tell you, whatever I would pick, you should do the opposite. So I have about as much luck at that as you
You're
do.
batting pretty strong on this one. So, for this conference,
Yes.
why do you come here? What do you look to get out of it? What have you gotten out of it? Any gold nuggets you picked up?
Well, again, the expertise at this conference crosses clinical research, business market assessment, technical, vendors with every service, known to a manufacturer you would want to have. And the policy makers are here from Canada and from the FDA, from CMS. So, we're here to listen and to learn. And that's what I've been doing. We just began doing work in Hong Kong, China. We did some early clinical work, but now we are commercial, doing cases in Hong Kong. And I sat on an hour-and-a-half conference yesterday from general managers of GE and Medtronic, talking about both the challenges and benefits of the second largest market in the world. And I don't know where I could have ever gone and hear the questions and hear the interaction. So that was, I think I've told our team that was a real highlight for me yesterday.
Awesome. Well, I guess we just end there. I mean, where else do we go? Mars next, maybe.
Mars next. This idea of patients needing cardiovascular services, what we have learned is this is a global issue. It's a bigger issue in China than the U.S.
Wow.
It's a huge issue in Brazil.
India.
It's in India. I mean, anywhere where you've got large populations who all don't live near the high technology centers, we think we have a solution, and we want to we're demonstrating that we do have the ability to project beyond even
democratization of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you so
Michael.
much, Tom.
Appreciate it.